All right, what is going on, everyone, and welcome back to the Mets Weekly Podcast as we are live at this very moment on YouTube and on X to discuss and recap the Mets versus Dodgers 4-game set, as well as all the latest news and rumors in New York Mets land. But before we do that, I want to remind everyone to subscribe to the Mets Weekly YouTube channel for new episodes of our show that are now recorded live after every series of games during the regular season. And for those of you watching or listening on playback, you want to join the conversation in the future, make sure to turn on those post notifications to know when we go live. For those of you in the live chat right now, we love reading your comments, your questions, your concerns, all that great stuff. You feel like you're being ignored. You're not being ignored, you're just being starred throughout the show. And we will try to pull up as many comments as we can to keep the flow of the conversation going. Make sure to follow Mets Weekly on X and on TikTok, which mainly features Frank's instant post-game reactions after every regular season game, titled The Mets Frankly Post-Game. For our audio listeners, make sure to follow us on all your favorite listening platforms to not miss the audio version of new episodes that go up at 9 a.m. the following day. Also, make sure to give us a 5-star review. That would be greatly appreciated. So without further ado, let's get into episode number 141. Plenty to discuss, obviously. Frank, I know that you did not get to see most of this series live. For those of you who follow us on TikTok, you know that I was filling in for 3 straight nights, which was definitely, I think that was the first time I've done that. So definitely it was a lot of late night recap, and sometimes into 1 o'clock in the morning, 2 o'clock in the morning, posting those in. So either way, it's a grind throughout this entire season, 162 games, as we all know. But Frank, you got to catch that last game, which was not the best. Didn't end great, but definitely a battle with the Dodgers that went wire to wire. So it was definitely entertaining. Can't not say that. There you go. Proper English.
Yeah, I mean they played the Dodgers a lot in the span of a couple of weeks, and just like that, all their head-to-head matchups with the Dodgers are done, and they end up splitting this series. And the games they lost, it's by 1 run, and in these games they had leads, especially that last game. So, as far as how they match up with the Dodgers in this series, I mean they did a good job, but it's still not the full Dodgers quite yet. I mean, that's still the thing too, is that people want to be like, oh, well, the Mets are showing that they're really competitive against good teams and they have a good record against other teams with good records. But it's like, but then this is obviously a big if with the current state of the Dodgers having 15 pitchers on the injured list. But there is a scenario where you could face any of the combination of Ohtani, Snell, Glasnow, Yamamoto, Roki. Like you kind of didn't even see any of the Dodgers rotation. I mean, you saw like Dustin May, who was hurt last year. So it's just a totally different ballgame. We know how important pitching is. And like we've said, that's what kept the Mets in these games. I mean, that's why the Mets were super competitive, why they would take some game from the Dodgers, why they just had a good shot every time. It's because of good pitching. So once the Dodgers get some of, if not all of that back, I mean, they're going to be even tougher. So, I mean, I'm proud that the Mets still all in all split the series. That last game was very ugly. But I mean, just like the way these games are going extra innings, like a lot of these games so far have been extra innings games against the Dodgers. So it's just been super tight right now. It's been super competitive. But, overall, there were some good things in this series to be encouraged about, especially offensively. But then there were still some things that we didn't like. So we're going to address all of that. But overall, you know what? You'll kind of take a split, but it's frustrating when you really should have won it and you had a very good chance to sweep the whole thing.
Yeah. One thing I will say about this series, the first 3 games of this series, I thought there was some really efficient offense. I thought they were playing some really good baseball. That final game, it started off great, and then it just kind of tampered off. We've seen the offense show up early and then just completely disappear. We've seen the offense show up late, and then pull something out of their ass by the seams of the high-end talent they have at the top of the lineup. But I think right now we're starting to see them of how the Mets and the Dodgers are kind of separated in this way. Now, for some of the side note for you guys who are anybody listening, there is a massive thunderstorm going on outside my window. I'm very close to a window, so if you guys hear that, I am not a devil rising from the ashes at all. Just letting you know.
Not yet.
But not yet. Not yet. I mean, I haven't said anything that makes me the devil yet. Just wait. But, you know, I think what really was shown in this series, yes, the Mets can compete with this Dodgers team. Can they come out on top? Who knows? But it really, really came to show, like in so many ways, that the difference between these two teams is their success with runners in scoring position. I think that at this point, the way that the Mets have lost these games, they were both by 1 run. And in those 2 games, they left colonies on base. The Dodgers came through. Even in that final game, the great Dodgers, their greatness rubbed off on our old friend Michael Conforto to finally come through. So the lineup, whether it was, you know, if it's deep or not, whether it was it's injured or not, the Dodgers have a really efficient offense. The Mets have very efficient pitching, and it clashed in this series, and it ended up being a 4-game split. I was confident after this series that I think that the Mets can compete with this team, but there still is a long ways to go to think that you can sustain to a point where you can compete with this team. Because again, there were some great things, there were some not so great things, and it all needs to be put together. And to be honest, they had obviously a tough predicament with the 6th starter that they had to use, which we will get into that 6th starter who made his return. And they were definitely taxed in the bullpen because they will have 10 straight days of games. They're obviously starting off in Colorado tonight. And then they also had 2 key injuries as well in the starting lineup, which we will also get into. So again, there are still things that need to be ironed out, but I'm feeling a little bit better. I'm feeling a little bit better than what I'm seeing from this team rising to the occasion. We've seen them play down to competition a lot. I would like to see them beat up the Rockies. That would be awesome. But when it comes to, you know, playing up to competition, you're going to have to play up to competition in the postseason. We saw them do that a lot in the postseason last year, and we saw them falter against really bad teams. I don't know if it's just the environment in that way, but I feel confident this team can compete with the Dodgers. Will that be this year? I don't know. But eventually, I think the Mets will get there. Because we saw, especially with their top guns, definitely beatable. There's ways to get them. Like they were talking about, you know, Shohei Ohtani. They're getting him high and inside, and they're getting head in the count on him. And then there was some, you know, things with their pitching staff as well, where they were making a lot of mistakes. Of course, it was not really their A rotation that we were facing. But again, I do feel encouraged that this Dodgers team doesn't look completely unstoppable. They're a great team, though. We know they are a great team. They beat us up last year. I think things have to go right for them to beat this team still. But again, I was very pleased with the way that they were matched up with them. Still some things to be concerned about. Still some stuff that needs to be etched out. Bullpen was gassed up. Some defensive miscues. Offensive consistencies, but they were able to keep pace with this Dodgers team, even with that. So I was definitely encouraged by that. Still some of the issues we've been pointing out so far. But again, there are some things that they do need to iron out as of right now to continue this stretch. And they are going to be playing some teams that are not on the Dodgers level over this next week. And they should be taking care of it, hopefully taking 2 out of 3. Maybe a sweep against the team they're going to start off tonight, especially in such a huge hitter's ballpark. So again, we will get into all of that going forward, of course. But I do want to get into what kind of fizzled all the way to the top yesterday of the news that we got. Now, like I said, I was definitely encouraged with the efficient baseball they were playing in this series. They've definitely started off June solid. I really have been impressed, especially on the offensive side. But we all know how the Mets universe has to deal with that. It has to sacrifice something, and that being our top guy in Francisco Lindor. Now, this is a rough situation. Of course, it could be worse as of right now. But here is the full rundown of what we got yesterday. So we'll give a little bit of a spotlight to this, obviously, before we recap the series, because this is, again, very key impact. Francisco Lindor, this is our MVP caliber player right here. So definitely some precautions need to be taken. Now, yesterday we got the news that he was diagnosed with a broken right pinky toe as he experienced that discomfort after getting hit in the foot leading off Wednesday's game, which was the third game of the series. Now, obviously, with Lindor having the high pain tolerance that he does have, he stayed into the game, played all 9 innings in the field, but he was not in the Mets starting lineup for the series finale versus the Dodgers on Friday. He was also not able to pinch hit later on in that game with the Mets down a run. That was asked by Carlos Mendoza. They said, was he available? No, he was not available. So obviously, if there was pain there, there's pain there. Now, we heard that Francisco Lindor intends to play through this injury and avoid a stint on the injured list for the time being. They said that he is day to day. We don't know if he's in the lineup. Is he in the lineup tonight? I don't know if they've posted it yet, but Lindor, most likely it will be questionable whether he is in the lineup every single night. A broken pinky toe is not fantastic. He was able to play the entire game through because obviously this hit by pitch happened in the first inning. So definitely they're going to they're going to have to figure some stuff out. I am seeing that the Mets lineup is not out yet. So I'm guessing they're trying to figure out if he is good to go or not. But I think that they did make the right decision. And of course, the Mets offense was spotty in this game. But they were still competitive. They weren't just non-existent without Francisco Lindor in there. And that goes to show of how deep this lineup can be when it does perform. So obviously, Frank, there is a lot that can be said. We know that there's a lot of young infielders on this team that could possibly step up with Francisco Lindor possibly on the shelf here. But what are your opinions here with this? Do you think that at some point they need to address it as a possible IL stunt, or do you think that it's just that they have to keep this day to day at this current moment? Because it is a broken toe. I mean, we're not doctors here, but that can be painful. I think we all know that could be painful. It's a pinky toe. It's pinky. But who knows? Who knows what is going to be going forward? What are your thoughts here?
It's certainly unfortunate. I mean, this is part of the game of baseball. Lindor is kind of like Alonso in that sense, where he's someone that, we just got news that Corbin Burns is getting Tommy John surgery from Jeff Passan. So just thought I'd throw it out there while it's
I think we all knew that was going to happen after how that ended up. Yeah.
Yes, that's been confirmed. But, as far as Lindor, like, it's just an unfortunate part of the game. Like, these are guys that, generally speaking, are very durable. But if they are hit by a pitch, like, how your body reacts is just how it reacts. Like, some players get lucky, other times something could break. And in this case, he breaks the pinky toe on the foot. And I just find it so fascinating that we have a example that's going on right now in this series. Mookie Betts. I mean, he had the same thing happen to him, hit by pitch, broken toe, sits out a few games, and then he's back out there and he's playing baseball. Is he 100%? No. Is he playing through a lot of pain? Yes. But we know Lindor does have a high pain tolerance. To me, I feel like his back injury last year was probably worse than this, to be honest with you. So I like you said, I mean, we're not doctors, but at this point, I don't think IL stint, it could help a little bit, but no matter what, he's still going to be playing through pain. So it's more so a matter of like, how many days does he need? I mean, to me, I wouldn't be surprised if he sits out this Rockies series. Then you have the off day Monday, and then maybe he's ready to go Tuesday for the Nationals back home. I mean, that's a scenario I could see. But I just think overall it's just one of those things where like it's part of the game. It's super unfortunate, but something he's have to play through, something Mookie Betts gonna have to play through, and there's a lot of season left. So how that kind of impacts the way things are going, we'll see. But he is someone that does play every single game. So I wonder if maybe that changes a little bit. I mean, who knows? Like if there's a doubleheader, does he play both? Like, I mean, you're gonna have to make adjustments as it's going along. It's something that while it does stink, I don't think it's going to prevent him from continuing to be a very impactful player for this team. I mean, it's going to, again, just be annoying because he also plays shortstop. It's not like he can just DH and hit, but like he plays shortstop.
Yeah,
he has a lot of range, especially if there's a certain third baseman next to him. He needs to move around a whole lot. So I mean, it's going to be tough because it's like with especially a play like that, like you need quick reaction. So it's like you gotta be like ready to move right away. Even if you're in pain, it's like boom, you gotta go get to the ball. So it's things that happen, especially because it's like I'm pretty sure it's the foot that he has like the shin guard on, and it like just missed the guard, and it's come on now. But I feel like also the fact that he played through the game that it happened, I also feel like is a pretty good sign.
Mixed
like
about
it's not
that
bad.
I'm mixed about that. I'm really mixed about that because I was like, okay, he played the rest of the game, but then he doesn't play the next day.
It could be a little bit of an adrenaline
Lindor,
thing.
that guy wants to be out there. Like,
he does want to be out there. I mean,
like,
that's
don't find any excuse to say I'm fine. Like, I know, but like to see him say, okay, I'll sit out, definitely odd there. Like, it was definitely luckily last year when this happened, we had Luisangel Acuna playing the way that he did to start it off. Will it happen again? Probably not. At the rate that it's going, he really has not been good. As for Ronnie Mauricio,
there, to be honest,
Ronnie Mauricio, I would consider doing Ronnie Mauricio. You guys in the chat, I asked you, I asked you about who you guys prefer playing time at shortstop if Lindor has to sit out. It looks like 91% of you right now are saying Ronnie Mauricio. So most of you guys are seem to be sick of what you're seeing from Luisangel Acuna, who it doesn't seem like he's doing much. And I really would not. I really would find a way to put him in the lineup and put him in at shortstop. Evan, yes, absolutely. But I think if they do make this decision to sit him out, do it right now. Do it right now. You are playing the Colorado Rockies. They suck. The Colorado Rockies are terrible. Beyond terrible. If they can't find a way to beat them without Francisco Lindor, I don't know what to tell you. You got bigger problems. I understand Lindor is a catalyst there, but I also do think that you have another traditional leadoff hitter in Brandon Nimmo, who from the offensive standpoint can be the catalyst that he was before Francisco Lindor became the leadoff hitter and all of that. And yes, I know Brandon Nimmo's career is completely over to some Mets fans, but in the top part of the lineup, he's been pretty good offensively. Still hasn't been fantastic. We had a few blunders. And I will say one thing about Brandon Nimmo being in the leadoff spot. I did originally have a segment about him in the batting order because we've had discussions about how it seems out of place with him. And I was going to talk about, some of the splits, and then it just got completely spurned by the Lindor news. So originally what I was going to say, obviously, is, Nimmo being the balanced hitter he was able to be before they put him in this cleanup position. I think that they're going to be okay with him at the top of the lineup if they need him to be at the top of the lineup. I know he homered yesterday at the leadoff spot. I think they'll be fine there. I think that the lineup's going to get a little bit shortened, obviously, because you don't know what you're going to get from some of these young guys. I'm pretty sure every single one of these young guys at the current moment Some small samples are not. All of them have been struggling this past week or two. Alvarez has not looked good. We've talked about Alvarez already. Beatty's starting to slow down a little bit, but he still is giving competitive ABs as compared to what he was doing before he got recalled. So that was it's at least encouraging. So he's at least fighting through it well. Acuna's been doing nothing. Ronnie has not looked great in those few plate appearances he has gotten so far. So we'll see how this all gets figured out. But if I don't see Lindor at all in this Colorado series, I'm fine with it. I'm okay with it. That's fine. They got to figure out a way to beat the Colorado Rockies. And if they can't do that, then you got an issue. They got a massive issue, especially when you have a few of these bats in this lineup who are red hot coming off of that Dodgers series. Pete Alonso, I'm looking at you, who was fantastic in LA. And we will get into that. But speaking of injuries, before we get into this full rundown, obviously we're going out of order here because we usually start off with the rundown. Frank, I will move it to you for the injury report of the other injury news that we had before this was all spurned. So Frank, the floor is yours. We're starting this one off early. Usually it's a little bit later, but hey, things change. All right, it's all yours.
Yeah, I mean, these are the top stories. So first off, we got Mark Vientos. Mets infielder has been placed on the 10-day injury list due to a right hamstring strain. Vientos exited Monday night's game in the 10th inning after falling down on his way up the first base line trying to run out a ground ball. Mets manager Carlos Mendoza confirmed that the 25-year-old will receive treatment for the next 10 to 14 days until he's symptom-free. Sean Manaea, Mets starting pitcher, is set to begin his rehab assignment tomorrow night for High A Brooklyn, which I think is tonight, scheduled to toss 2 innings or 35 pitches. After throwing a live bullpen session earlier this week, Manaea continues to progress. The 33-year-old southpaw has been on the injured list since the beginning of spring training due to a right oblique strain. Frankie Montas, Mets starting pitcher, really struggled in his third rehab start for AAA Syracuse on Tuesday night, tossing 4 innings, giving up 8 hits, 5 runs, 1 walk, 3 strikeouts on 61 pitches. When asked about the outing, Mets manager stated that they do not know how many rehab outings he will need, but they will address the next step after the 20 days remaining of assignment conclude. The 32-year-old right-hander has been sidelined since the beginning of March due to a right lat strain. Brooks Raley, Mets reliever, has begun facing hitters after he completed 3 bullpen sessions over the past few weeks and is expected to begin live game action soon. Before re-signing with the Mets in late April, the 36-year-old side-slinging lefty underwent Tommy John surgery that included an internal brace procedure 12 months beforehand. Raley's new contract with the Mets includes a club option for 2026 worth $4.75 million. So, I mean, overall for Montas, that is pretty concerning. I know we talked about last episode that he didn't do good, and I was like, oh, don't worry. It's kind of like spring training. They're trying to figure stuff out. But then the next outing is worse. Now I'm like, okay, let's see how the next one goes. Like, I'm not ready to just be like, oh, he's gonna be fine. Like, that's not 100%.
Those juice AAA balls. What can you do?
Yeah, different.
I think he gave up like 3 homers. That's not fantastic.
Yeah, I think it was like to the same guy too. I'm pretty sure. Like he just kept getting crushed. So I mean, it definitely was interesting. And then I mean, for Vientos, now it's like you got the whole like opening day left side of the infield down right now. So I mean, like you said, there's multiple injuries. They're gonna have to figure it out, and it's those things we've talked about. I mean, we say, oh well, when this guy comes back, what happens to that guy? And then everybody ends up staying because someone else goes down. I mean, that's just how baseball is. 162 games, very few off days. Like you just end up having to keep basically everybody because somebody else goes down. So when it came to like we talked about Beatty and Acuna, like these guys have been here the whole way through, essentially.
I mean, here's the thing with obviously the Mark Vientos stuff. He's been struggling at the plate. He's been struggling in the field. Montas, listen, I'm not trying to accuse of anything, and this is going to sound this is going to sound bad. But I don't know if this is the camera in the minor leagues or anything. And I'm seeing a lot of people talk about this. Is it just me from some of the footage that I'm seeing? and this is I'm not a doctor. I'm not claiming to be. I'm just going to bring it up here. Does Frankie Montas just look very, very heavy? Like he just doesn't, like he looks out of shape to me. Like he just does not. I don't know. It seems like I remember a different Montas. Maybe it's the minor league cameras because they're not fantastic. Like, yeah, okay, yeah, just say he's fat. But I'm trying to be nice here. But like, I don't know. He doesn't look like the Frankie Montas I know from Oakland. Like, sorry, I don't know if I'm being a dick in that way. I'm not trying to Miguel Sano his ass right now, but it's just the fact that I don't know what the deal is with him. Obviously, we know every guy that Stearns brings in, not every single one of them is going to be a success. He's had quite a success with a lot of these arms. Clay Holmes paying off the way that he has. Griffin Canning, obviously, they've done a really good job
last year.
Manaea, Severino, as well. And then, of course, some of the relievers that he's brought in as well. But
Brazoban.
Brazoban is one. One thing I will say with Frankie Montas, it'll be interesting how he does fill in because it seems like he's going to be coming back before Manaea does. I'm not worried about what the results are for his rehab start. It's all really just about how he feels. But to me, visually, I don't know. He just looks out of shape to me. That I don't know what it is, and maybe I'll be proven wrong completely. But he just looks like, has he always looked like that? Like I don't know. I feel like I don't know. Like, are you seeing the same thing I'm seeing?
Yeah, I would have to put up like a side by side to like totally tell you. Like you said, the minor league cameras are quite
like
different.
The Weight Watchers commercials, but it's like I just I don't know. They said that his fastball was sitting 90 to 91 as well in that game. So that's not great. But hey, what do we know? I don't know. I'm trying to be nice. I'm trying not to be canceled here. But however, Mark Vientos seems like they dodged a little bit of a bullet there. I know everybody wants him off the team after the rough stretch he's had so far this year, but that's not going to happen. It definitely gives you a chance to see what Ronnie Mauricio can do. Maybe a little bit more playing time, obviously, at third base, and maybe a little bit of second with Ronnie Mauricio here for Brett Beatty. So he gets to get a little bit more time to get it going again. And then, of course, Sean Manaea is what I'm waiting for. I'm waiting for him to come back, obviously. And we will see how that all gets configured in this rotation with a lot of these guys performing well. We know there's one guy who's kind of at the bottom of the food chain right now, and that being Tyler McGill, who seems like the first guy that would be out of here if they did that. So we'll see how they make that decision. I know that with Paul Blackburn here, they sent down, They sent down Max Kranick, I think. It seems like he will end up being back. They just needed a fresh arm. So when he's eligible to come back, he will. We'll get into Ronnie Mauricio a little bit when he gets a little bit more ABs up here. I'm trying to be a little bit patient on that end because I don't know how long this ACL adjustment is going to be here for the major league. So I'm giving him a little bit of leeway at the plate. But it seemed like he played a really good third base the other night. I don't know. I don't think you were watching,
which is not his normal position anyway. So I mean, that's also
he's just built better for the right side of the infield because he just has a very strong arm. And he can take those long strides as the 6'3" guy he is. Apparently,
he's taller than 6'3". That is,
he is 6'3". He is not 6'3".
He's taller than that. So, but like you said, I mean, it's just been so few 8 plate appearances. I can't do much with that, especially because he was facing Kershaw, and from what I saw, they're talking about how he's not that great right-handed anyway. So I mean, that's the other thing to consider too. Is like once he gets more, at bats batting left-handed, which is what he should, we'll hopefully see more of the Ronnie that we know what he's capable of. And you know what, this upcoming series, he's gonna be facing some minor league pitchers. He's gonna be in a very elevation. So like this is
Yeah.
a good series to get him going. Try to get him
Yeah.
on track, get some confidence built up. So this is a good opportunity for him.
I think the best way to kind of develop this and kind of like slow things down is to have him batting ninth. Like I think that that's the best thing that they
Well,
need
we
to
got a
do.
lot of nine hitters right now,
We do
especially
have a
with
lot of
yeah.
nine hitters, but I think Tyrone Taylor has played good enough where he doesn't have to be in there batting ninth.
He hasn't been
Luis
batting ninth in a
Perez.
while. I mean, he's been like seventh
No,
quite a bit lately.
but I mean
So
he's been swinging a
he's
solid
earned
bat.
it. He's earned
Yeah,
it
he's definitely earned that.
because Alvarez
Um,
and Acuna have struggled more than him, so they've been
yeah,
more worthy of batting ninth.
yeah, and then Terens has been able to be in the upper, like the second third of the lineup if he needs to be, like batting sixth or seventh around there. Like he's been good enough there. Beatty has been hitting pretty well, so he can be in the middle of the lineup at the moment. I don't like having a new lineup every day. We've talked about this so many times.
Well, I mean,
They're
now
obviously
it's a
gonna
little
have to,
different with the
yeah,
injuries.
with
Like
Lindor
that could
out.
change
Yeah,
it a little bit, but I mean, overall, I do agree with you though. It's been a lot of different lines. I kind of it's interesting this thing they're trying now with like Nimmo bats second versus righties, but Marte bats second versus lefties. And Marte did have a really good game yesterday, besides getting picked off at third base. But I'm talking about at the plate. He
yeah,
definitely it was pulling the ball. I mean, that's something that he has not really done much
yeah.
of this season. So that was encouraging. He pulled one. He hit another extra base hit off the left field wall. So again, these are spots these guys are more accustomed to, a little more comfortable with. But we're talking about middle of the order. McNeil cannot be banged behind Alonso. I mean, he is just. I mean, the amount of opportunities that he had that he was squandering. I mean, just like with these everything you could do on pop up, strike out. Like I mean, he was just not advancing runners. Like it was just so brutal to
Swinging
watch.
first pitch.
He swinging first pitch. I'm pretty sure he was 0 for 3 with runner scoring position yesterday. And like that's the thing too is that the Mets left 13 guys on yesterday. The Dodgers left 6 on. So like they were winning for most of the game, but it's like you really should have had more if you're stranding 13. And even the game they lost when they played in Citi Field, that was actually a game where they also stranded a ton of runners. So it's like every game the Mets have lost to the Dodgers, it's been by one run. And in all these games, they left a ton of guys on base. So I mean, that's just and McNeil is batting fifth tonight according to the chat. So I mean,
Oh, sick.
there you go. Jeez,
Awesome.
they are. Oh my gosh.
Lovely. No, this is what they do all the time. That's the kind of their thing. This has always been their thing, which definitely pisses me off the most about what the Mets do. Here is whenever McNeil has a good game, they just can't help themselves. They can't keep him in the lower third of the lineup. They have to move him up. Looks like Mauricio is batting ninth, which, like I just said, if you guys want to know what the lineup is here, Nimmo leading off, left field, Marte DH, Soto right field, Alonso first base, McNeil second base, like we said, Taylor center field, Beatty third base, Alvarez at catcher, and Mauricio at shortstop. That's tonight, and then of course Senga on the mound. So we will get into what is going forward because we have the first pitch, of course, at 8:40 tonight. But let's get into what happened during this series. Let me just take a drink of water because this is some extra
Yeah,
work.
it's a 4-game set, so I mean there definitely
Mhm.
is a lot to go over. And I mean when you have
Oh,
extra innings, it's even longer games. So and you
yeah,
spend this many runners,
yeah,
lots of
pretty
recap.
sick, isn't it? Anyways, Mets trying to kill me. All right, let's move it. All right, game one. Paul Blackburn would make his season debut. More on that later. He tossed 5 scoreless innings. Francisco Lindor would get the Mets started on the second pitch of the game, launching his 14th home run of the year to give the Mets a 1-0 lead. After back-to-back one-out singles by Jeff McNeil and Francisco Alvarez in the fifth, Brandon Nimmo would add to the lead on an RBI double. Huskar Brazaban would come in for the sixth and struggle with his command, loading the bases on back-to-back walks, but he'd strike out Tommy Edman to escape the jam. Max Granick would get the second, and he'd surrender a towering blast to right field off the bat of Shohei Ohtani. That would cut the Mets' lead in half. Ryan Stanek would come on for the eighth and toss a scoreless inning on a couple of loud fly balls, However, Edwin Diaz would bid for the save in the ninth, and he'd surrender a leadoff single to Tommy Edman, who would easily steal second, obviously with Diaz's struggles to hold runners. Hae-Sung Kim would make it first and third on an infield single that would be swallowed up on a diving stop by Francisco Lindor to keep the ball on the infield. Shohei Ohtani would tie the game on a sacrifice fly as Diaz would suffer his first blown save of 2025, but he'd strike out Teoscar Hernandez to send the game to extra innings. With Luis Angel Acuna as the ghost runner at second, Francisco Alvarez would drive him in on an RBI double to right, and Francisco Lindor would drive in the second run of the inning on an RBI single to make it 4-2 Mets. And that run would be very, very important as Jose Castillo would bid for the save in the 10th, and he'd only get one out and allowing the ghost runner to score. Jose Butto would come on and get two king-sized outs, getting the red-hot Will Smith to fly out and getting Tommy Edman on a comebacker to end it and secure game one in 10 innings, 4-3. Game two, Tyler McGill would get the start, and after a atrocious first inning, surrendering 4 earned runs, hurling more than 30 pitches, he was able to recover beautifully and give the Mets length, tossing 6 innings pitched, 4 hits, 4 earned runs, 1 walk, 7 strikeouts on 105 pitches, tying his career high with 18 swings and misses on the ninth. But before that, the Mets would score in the first after a 1-out single by Starling Marte with a wild pitch that would move him over to second. Pete Alonso would cash him in on an RBI single. But down 4-1 in the third, Juan Soto would blast his 11th home run of the year to make it a 1-run ball game in the fifth after a 1-out walk to Lindor and Marte reaching on a fielding error by Max Muncy. Pete Alonso would drive in his second home run of the ninth with an RBI double to tie the game at 4. And Brandon Nimmo would leg out an infield single to drive in the go-ahead run to give the Mets a 5-4 lead. Brandon Waddell would come in for the 7th inning and retire the side on 11 pitches. Reed Garrett would get the 8th and give us a heart attack, walking Shohei Ohtani, followed by a bloop single by Mookie Betts, a charge ball, a pass ball charged to Francisco Alvarez to move them to second and third. But Garrett would zone in from there, striking out Freddie Freeman, getting Teoscar Hernandez to ground into a fielder's choice, getting Ohtani caught in a rundown on a heads-up play by Ronnie Mauricio, and striking out Will Smith to escape the jam. Huskar Brazaban would get the 9th, and he'd surrender the tying run on Max Muncy's second home run of the night. But he bounced back, striking out Pages, Hernandez, and Edman to send the game to extras for the second straight night. However, the Mets offense would stall from there, with Soto, Alonso, and Nimmo all failing to advance the runner on second. Jose Butto would come on and try and keep it tied against the top of the Dodgers order. They opted to intentionally walk Ohtani to set up the double play. Mookie Betts would fly out, but Freddie Freeman would barrel one to left field that Brandon Nimmo would completely misjudge on the warning track, allowing the winning run to score as the Dodgers would walk it off to even the series 6-5. Game 3, Griffin Canning would make the start, and he was fantastic, tossing 6 innings pitched, 3 hits, no earned runs, 1 walk, 7 strikeouts on 99 pitches. The Mets bats would get started right away in the first after a leadoff hit by pitch to Francisco Lindor that ended up being the injury we are talking about, followed by Brandon Nimmo reaching on a fielder's choice that helped Lindor advance to third. Juan Soto would open up the scoring with an RBI ground out. Pete Alonso would add to the lead with a 2-run homer, his 13th of the year, to make it 3-0 Mets. Jose Castillo would come on in the 7th and toss a scoreless inning after working around a 1-out double and a hit by pitch. Brandon Nimmo would get hit by the pitch to start off the 8th, followed by a walk to Juan Soto. Setting up the big guy, Pete Alonso, once again blasting his second home run of the night, a 447-foot moonshot to left center to extend the Mets lead to 6-0. Jose Castillo would come back out for the bottom of the inning and toss a second straight scoreless inning against the top of the Dodgers order. Ryan Stanek would get the ninth, and he'd surrender a solo home run to Andy Pages to prevent the shutout, but he'd finish it off to secure Game 3 and clinch the season series over the Dodgers 6-1. And finally, Game 4, the series finale. David Peterson would make the start and was efficient through 7 innings, but worked in and out of traffic all game, allowing 3 earned runs in the third, but he'd lock it in from there. 7 innings pitched, 7 hits, 3 earned runs, 2 walks, 6 strikeouts on 90 pitches. The Mets would get the early lead as Pete Alonso would launch his 15th home run of the year, his third of the series. Nimmo would lead off the third in the same way with a solo home run, his 10th of the year, and Starling Marte would homer as well right behind him, his 4th of the year, giving the Mets a 3-0 lead. After a hit by pitch to Alonso, a walk to McNeil, and a single by Tyrone Taylor to load the bases, Brett Beatty would drive in the third run of the inning to extend the Mets lead to 4-0. After Peterson exited in a 1-run game, the Mets would get some insurance in the 8th after a 2-out double by Starling Marte and an intentional walk to Juan Soto. Pete Alonso would collect his 9th RBI of the series with an RBI single to make it 5-3 Mets. But it was not enough, as Reed Garrett would come on in relief after walking Mookie Betts and surrendering an RBI double to Will Smith to make it a 1-run game once again. Andy Pages would drive in the tying run on a fielder's choice after a low throw home by Brett Beatty that was bobbled by Francisco Alvarez, backed up by Reed Garrett, but Alvarez was blocking the path to make the play and make the tag at the plate, tying the game at 5. The Mets would intentionally walk pinch hitter Freddie Freeman to get to the struggling Michael Conforto, and the former Met would come through with a RBI single to give the Dodgers a lead. The Mets would try and rally in the 9th after Francisco Alvarez would slash a 2-out single, and Luis Angel Acuna, he would fly out after an 8-pitch AB to end an all-around collapse in the series finale, going 2 for 10 with runners in scoring position, of course, and splitting up this 4-game set 6-5. The Mets are now 39-24 on the season. They are winners of 7 of their last 10 games, holding a 1.5-game lead over the Phillies for first place in the National League East. 4 games. I'm going to lose my voice at some point doing that. But quite the takeaways here. Frank, you only were able to watch one of these games live, obviously. I think it's pretty much fresh in our minds of that last game, of how it kind of all collapsed the way that it did. But I think, the differences between the Mets and the differences between the Dodgers, like I said, they were amplified. The Mets have the advantage on some things. The Dodgers have advantages on some things as well. So is it evenly matched? We'll see. Only the playoffs will tell, because we know we're going to have to get through this team if they want to make a big run. But either way, a series that had a roller coaster of emotions. There was injuries. There was clutch hitting. There was not so clutch hitting, rough pitching, great bounce backs. It had everything. It was primetime entertainment. So MLB got their big revenue in this series. This was an entertaining one.
Yeah, I mean, starting it off, I said on our last stream, I was like, oh, don't be surprised if you see Edwin Diaz blow his first save, because he loves to blow it on a West Coast game. And of course, game 1, he blows it, and then it's like 10th inning, you have to. And actually, good thing that they actually came through in the 10th inning, getting some runs, because then they gave up a run in the bottom half, and good thing they got that second run, because they were able to hang on. So that was just really frustrating, because you thought you had that one, then you didn't, and it was just a lot of just kind of roller coaster of emotions going on there. But I think too, when you look at then the next game, it also goes exchange that Brandon Nimmo misplays the ball in left field. It's like, are we sure that Budo's even going to get out of that, even if Nimmo catches it? Are we 100% confident that that's even still going to happen? Because he already had allowed a base runner to begin with. So it's just kind of frustrating when you're seeing, again, like we talk about the veteran players. So Nimmo, the longest tenured Met, he doesn't know which way to go for the ball. Marte getting picked off of third. He doesn't know what he's doing. McNeil, another fielding error. And then you have Alvarez with his pass balls and then blocking the play for Reed Garrett to make a tag. So it's like when you do these things, they're just very they're foolish. They're mistakes that you should not be making, especially from your veteran players. When you play the Rockies, like I said before, you play the Marlins, other teams like that, you get away with it. But when you play the Dodgers and you're getting picked off of third base, or you're double clutching and then your catcher can't catch the ball and is blocking the pitcher from making a tag, you're not going to get away with it against the Dodgers. So, I mean, these are things that we have pointed out and brought up all season long of when they make these just inexcusable mistakes, things that you cannot be doing as a Major League Baseball team that they still do. So we've been like, this can't happen. Use your head, fundamentals. Like we go over all these things, and yet they still kind of pop up in some games. And then against a really good team, they become very costly. So before you get to the postseason, like when is this going to get cleaned up? Like when are we going to stop doing these just absolutely zero brain plays? Like when is that going to stop? Because again, when it's your veteran players, when it's your leaders, that's what makes it so frustrating. Because if it was a young player, a rookie, you're like, oh, rookie mistake. But when it's the guy who's 36, we're like, what were you doing? You are not stealing home. Stay on third. Like, why are you just getting so lost in what is happening in the course of the game? So, stuff like that was just very frustrating. And like you said, when you have these extra inning games, you already had a bullpen that was tired. That just adds on to it. So it's like you find yourself having to use pitchers that maybe you didn't really want to use. And then, you see Reed Garrett struggle a little bit here too. You saw Brazoban give up a run. So it's like you saw like a lot of things that you had normally seen, but that also could be due to the schedule too, as far as, how these games were lined up, travel, this, that, and the other. So it just was very frustrating because you see the final scores, you see the amount of guys left on base. And like I said, you really felt like they had a good chance at sweeping this. It didn't happen. And, I mean, and it's interesting because how this goes in a potential rematch, we'll see. But I just think overall, like, there was some frustrating aspects about it. I mean, it was great to see Pete do really well, hitting all those home runs. Soto, he's been working on his throwing, and he has a special colored baseball, and he could flip water bottles really good. So but he had a big, I'm just messing around. He did have a big hit in this series too. I mean, it was the game the Mets lost, not yesterday, the one before that, in extra innings. So at least he had a big home run as well. But still, it's just like there were some encouraging things like, oh, we saw Marte hit a home run, and we're seeing Nemo hit a home run. So it's like you feel good, like, oh, finally, here's this power that this team is capable of, yet you're still losing the game. So that definitely was just not the way you want to end it. Like, this really could have been a series they won, felt really good about it, and then they just totally melted down at the end.
Yeah, I mean, it just came to show, who's going to prevail. Like, one team that has one issue, the other one does. We know that the Dodgers are a lot more injured than us, but I think that the difference between them right now is hitting with runners in scoring position. We've talked about this already, and it's very, very evident to this. That was their 10th one-run loss of the year, right there. They are 13-10 in one-run games. And it does make you think that it's like, okay, half of those games they probably should have won, especially with, I'm sure that half of those one-run losses were when they left in a colony of men on base. And I had some people on Twitter yesterday telling me that, oh, well, 2 for 10 ain't bad. You left 13 men on base. And if one of them scored, which, again, 8 opportunities that you missed on it, one of them scored, it's a one-run game. So again, they have to figure out that way. And again, the difference maker between that, the situational hitting, the Dodgers are able to do that. We have seen them do it. They've struggled a little bit because our pitching's been great. They've struggled against us with runners in scoring position because they were struggling just as much with runners in scoring position in that extra inning game that went 13 innings. But, however, they're going to have to find a way to figure it out. They're going to have to be consistent. I thought that the offense this year has been very consistent at being awful situationally. I think that in this series, they were inconsistent. I thought they were efficient at some points and not efficient at some points. That's how they're starting off June. It's better to be inefficiently good than than consistently bad. Better. That's better. But there still is a lot that needs to improve. And I'm hoping, which it hasn't really happened recently when they get to Colorado, that they actually have like an entire explosion of runs in one of these games. I hope that they do. It would be nice. It seems like these last few years when they went to Colorado, they really weren't hitting that much. Didn't seem like it. And we all know how to win in Colorado actually just exists, to be honest, because the Rockies stink. But again, when it comes to this type of play, we've talked about it before. There's been plenty of losses where they were costed by mental mistakes. They were costed by not getting that one hit when they needed it. And it goes to show how they are in those situations. It's good to see them against the Dodgers play 3 straight efficient games with runners in scoring position. 50% in game 1, 33% in game 2, game 3, 36%. Awesome. Then we get back to 20% in 2 for 10 with runners in scoring position. And even though the bullpen melted down, and even though we had some defensive miscues, where the hell was the offense? The offense disappeared. They were beating up Landon Knack, right? In that final game. He comes out of the game. They can't hit Jose Urena, who was on our team and stunk and has been pretty bad. I mean, consistency, they got to find it. But again, it did show you how close they are to being close to being near the Dodgers level. They just have to get that big hit because those 3 losses they have had, all 1-run losses. What was it? No, 1 was a 2-run loss in Citi Field because it was in extra innings. But all of them could have been solved with runners in scoring position. Yeah. All of them could have been solved with runners in scoring position.
So you could just ended that game in the 12th and the 11th and the 10th, and then you don't lose by 2 runs. You win. So that was an option too.
Yep. But hey, it didn't happen. The Dodgers are a good team too. You got to tip your cap there. It is a good team. Even though it was awesome seeing our pitchers just basically slice up Shohei Ohtani pretty much every single time he was up there, except for when Max Kranick threw that awful pitch to him. It seemed like at their best. Now we will see because there were a few things. Speaking of Shohei Ohtani, I know you had one hit that just got past McNeil, and I know everybody will jump on a grenade to defend him about, but it looked like a play he could have got because it was hit like 70 miles an hour, had a expected batting average of like 100. Would have been nice. There was a few double play turns that he was not able to make. And it seems like he's very inconsistent with that when he's had Lindor. So it should be interesting having McNeil and Mauricio work together up the middle tonight. So
it sounds like I'm hoping and Daniel Murphy.
Yeah, it sounds like that, which is not great. So hopefully it works out. Would be awesome. I'm not here to talk about Jeff McNeil because to me he just exists at this point. And we'll talk about it when we need to talk about it. But as of right now, let's get into something I do want to give a spotlight to. Speaking of, we talked about injuries, plenty of injuries. We said Lindor, the Vientos. We've had some updates on the injury report. We have one guy who's no longer injured, who it seemed like he was injured since he came here, to be honest, and since he was acquired at the deadline last year. So he was able to come back as the 6th starter in the rotation with them having 10 consecutive days of games. Paul Blackburn is back with the Mets, and he made his season debut in game 1. against the Dodgers, one of the best lineups in all of baseball, if not the best. And all of us were nervous about this. We kind of were. But he completely shut us up. I mean, he just came out here with some burning redemption. There you go. Here's yeah. Here's a rundown of the start that he had with the Dodgers. He only went 5 innings, which again, I'm okay with, only throwing 77 pitches. He's just coming off of the injured list. That is fine. 3 hits, 0 earned runs, 1 walk, 3 strikeouts, 8 swings and misses. He was contact managing fairly well. Now, one thing that was talked about on the broadcast and one thing that's very evident, he stopped using his 4-seam fastball completely. Last year, he only used it at a 12.6% usage. And in his career as well, it's the same, around 13%. We also saw him, apparently he's lowered his arm angle as well for a little bit more of this deception. Seems like there's more of an east to west thing. It's obviously with him prioritizing that cutter from 50-degree arm angle all the way down to 32-degree arm angle. So definitely a different look from him. He got a decent amount of chases as well. His slider looked fairly sharp. He was getting some good, he was getting some good contact on that sinker as well. And it seems like the cutter has become a solid weapon for him to left-handed hitters as compared to what it was at moments. Now, obviously, he is not designed not really lined up to make a start again with him being the 6th starter. We didn't know what his role was going to be. Carlos Mendoza ended up confirming it, saying that he is going to move to the bullpen. We will see what that means for Max Kranick. It probably is the fact that Max Kranick, I think, needs to wait a certain amount of time before he can be recalled from.
Yes, there's like you have to wait a certain amount of days.
So there's probably the thought of that, of saying, okay, for the meantime, instead of Kranick, we're going to have Blackburn there. Now, I think we all had a sour taste in our mouths from Paul Blackburn when he first came here last year. He wasn't looking fantastic, got injured again, and then had surgery, got injured again. So there was a lot of, as the Jewish community my family's Jewish would call shvilkus with this guy, but he's back. And he made a really good first impression for 2025. We'll see what his role is going to be. But Frank, obviously, you weren't able to see this game. We can't emphasize enough. You were in bed, snoozing away.
I saw the first 2 innings.
You saw the first few innings.
Maybe this one. I don't know which one it was.
He struck out Shohei Ohtani twice.
Yes, I saw at least one of those. Yes.
I mean, it looked sharp, very sharp. It was the best I think we've seen Paul Blackburn in a Mets uniform. Not much of a sample to work from because he's been so hurt. But again, a very, very good outing against a very, very good team. And I think we were all really kind of worried about it. We were like, okay, this is a death sentence because of what we were hearing from his health and his consistency recently. But he passed the first test with flying colors. It was great. Great outing for him.
I mean, he definitely exceeded expectations, but I mean, little did we know that they were going to make all these adjustments that you listed, being more cutter heavy, ditching the 4-seam fastball, changing the arm angle. Were the Dodgers prepared for that? I mean, because I'm sure they had their own little scouting report, and then they're seeing new pitches that they weren't expecting, or pitches that they were expecting were not being thrown, coming from a different arm angle. So, I mean, it's just hopefully a different guy out there, and this is supposed to be what David Stearns and the pitching lab is all about. Trying to make the most out of undervalued assets and turn them into much better players. And that's something that they've done. And it seems like they're targeting Oakland, which, look at Severino's numbers right now. I know it's a hitter's ballpark, but they might be onto something there. You know what I mean? It feels like, going after players that were not totally successful with the Athletics and then make them successful. Sean Manaea, another one. Not the worst idea in the world with how they've been run. I mean, they're in a really bad spot right now. So it doesn't surprise me that him leaving that organization that does not want to invest the resources to have these facilities for the players for player development compared to the Mets who have one of the better ones in the pitching department, it doesn't surprise me if you see like some big changes in performance. So I think it was very encouraging, keeping the ball on the ground, just like you said, not walking batters. Like he just looked like a totally different guy out there. And I hope it's not going to sustain to the 0 ERA, but to be for your sixth starter. And really, I mean, with Manaea down, with Montas down, he's really like your eighth starter almost. Yes. So, I mean, to see that kind of performance from him is really good. I mean, because we've seen plenty other Mets make spot starts nowhere near as good as this. And for me, I'm totally okay with him staying in the bullpen because he's a true long man. I mean, he's someone that you actually could, leave out there 3 innings, 4 innings, 5 innings. Like when you do have a rain delay and the game stops in the second inning or third inning, and you don't want to just totally lose your bullpen because there was rain. Like, no, you just put Blackburn out there and you still get to save a few arms. So, I mean, there is a lot of value to still having him on the roster. If anything, I'd probably send down a Waddell, and then if you wanted to call up Kranick back up. I know he's like the only lefty, but they're not really using him in the traditional lefty situations anyway. They had the opportunity to yesterday with Freeman intentionally walk, then could forward at the plate. You had the lefty in the bullpen, but Reed Gary, like he's been so good, you felt like that was the matchup. Like Reed should be able to handle that. So like you could get more value out of Kranick than you are with Waddell because he's not even being used as a traditional lefty. He's more of like a long man himself. So I think it doesn't have to necessarily be like, oh, well, once that rule, like, Kranick's allowed to be back, you just get rid of Blackburn. I don't think you necessarily have to do that. So I am curious to see like if maybe he does stay up a little longer, because it's just like one of those things where you see a performance like that and it's like, should we send this person right back down? Like, does that feel like the right thing to do? Like, that just doesn't make sense because we talk about the hitters, but you'll see a guy have a great game and you're like, oh, you bench him the next day or you send him down. And we're like, wait a minute, this guy just that, like, you want to keep the good players on your team. So I think for Blackburn, let's see how it goes because we know how last year went. It was rough, but I mean, he's made some changes. So you hope those changes work, but only time will tell.
Yeah, we'll see what happens with Paul Blackburn. Obviously, he is not the flashiest of arms. We know that he's, the low 90s guy here. It looks like he's got a little bit of extra run on the sinker now, too. So we'll see what the deal is with that against right-handed hitters. But again, it's all really just about what the deal is going to be with the pitching staff once Montas and Manaea come back. We'll see what happens there. But him ditching the fastball, very, very interesting. Seems like a lot more of his secondaries were more of the effective pieces to him. So I feel like they found a way to piece things together with his arsenal. Lowering the arm angle, that's fine. Awesome. A little bit more of a different look. That's cool. But, again, very great, very good performance from him. Obviously, it seemed like we were feeding him to the Lions there. And he passed it with flying colors there. I don't expect him to, be a world beater and be fantastic. I just need him to keep us in the game. He kept us in the game, was nearly spotless, and he looked great. It was a good outing from him, and it just shows you maybe it's another option that this team has of pitching depth that can help them piece these things together when they are not hitting the way that they are. And he also was getting a decent amount of ground balls as well. He was able to make pitches. That was it. I don't think he's very flashy. I think that he's an arm that exists that can be at the major league level, and they are going to figure it out in that way. But we will see what happens. The only disadvantage that you have right now is this is now his 4th day of rest. So he's going to need maybe one more, and then he's good to go for the long relief. So he was probably in the bullpen technically, obviously, because he was the 6th starter, and they couldn't use him. So they were down a man for the rest of the series. So that was probably another reason as to why they were trying to piece things with putting Reed Garrett in there and this, because they knew that the workload was going to be a little bit bigger for more of their higher guys there. But I think it's something that they will monitor of having a good problem to have because of where do we put this guy? Where do we have these roster transactions? It's a good problem as compared to what we had a few years ago, where we're like, okay, well, we have this one pitcher. Let's drive him into the ground and kill him. So it's a lot better to have options like this, even some that aren't completely flashy, but they can give you a contribution in a pinch. We've seen Justin Hagenman have a few outings out there. Waddell has been out there eating some innings. They have put even they've had Huskar Brazaban start a few times as well as an opener. So it was great to see. We'll see what happens with some of the young guys in the system or whatever. But however, when it comes to Blackburn and some of these other pieces, I do think that we have a chance, and I talked about this before even the season started, but he ended up getting hurt. I did think that, before the injuries came in and they had quantity in this rotation, I really, really thought that we were going to get a possibility where he has a Trevor Williams type of a walk year. That was 2022 for Trevor Williams. This is his walk year. Blackburn's going to be a free agent at the end of this year. So if he shows his worth as a spot starter, as a long reliever, in the way that something like Trevor Williams did, he's going to get a decent amount of money on the free agent market. Will it be from the Mets? Probably not, but we'll see. We'll see what it's going to be there. And he if we can get those solid performances from him where he keeps us in the game, whether it's out of the bullpen or not, you get long relief, takes a lot of pressure off this starting rotation that's been carrying a lot of the load. Guys like David Peterson, guys like Clay Holmes, guys like Griffin Canning, the way, obviously the way that they're kind of doing the kid gloves to start out the year with Senga. Someone's going to have to eat these innings. And if you have an extra long man in there, can't go wrong. And it's been one of the main reasons as to why this team has been able to sustain with the pitching of the not so flashy weapons that they have as of right now, and also shorthanded the way that they are without Montas, Manaea, and also missing Blackburn. But now you have Blackburn back. It's like a trade deadline acquisition, as we like to say. But we'll see how they configure this. Obviously, it's one start, but obviously adjustments were made for him to get better results while he was also rehabbing. So that was great to see. He progressed a lot, and hopefully this continues and we continue to have gumdrops and rainbows from this pitching staff, because they have been very, very impressive all year. Some ding-ups, but overall, very, very solid. A lot of depth on display from David Stearns making the decisions, and obviously we expect that with his expertise being the pitching like it was in Milwaukee. Either way, Blackburn had a great performance, but let's get into some more great performances and bad performances, studs and duds. We had a long series. Again, like we said, very eventful, very entertaining series, very trading jabs, let's just say that, with the Dodgers getting a 4-game split. One player that was good in this series that we want to give flowers to, one that was not so much. Frank, I will swing it over to you. Your stud for this 4-game set.
Yeah, I mean, it has to be Pete Alonso. I mean, it was really nice to see all the home runs he had been hitting, because that's something that we've been talking about. That overall, he's been having a good season, but not the power that we're accustomed to when it comes to Alonso. But I mean, he was going to right field. I mean, like you mentioned, that one of the ones he hit was just way, way gone. So I mean, it was some no doubter power in there too. But it's just being a guy that comes through with men on base. That's something he's done all season. And it's something that they've needed for him to do with how much they have struggled as a team with men in scoring positions. So to have at least one guy in the middle of the order that's consistently done really well at that has definitely been a big help.
We've talked a little bit about, who's going to be behind Alonso, how this lineup is being constructed, but it seems like Alonso hasn't skipped a beat, whether he's batting third or he's batting fourth. He looks completely locked in. And this was one of the best series I've seen him have. Like we said, 9 runs batted in, 3 home runs. He is now 1 away from tying David Wright on the Mets all-time list. Will Pete Alonso pass Strawberry before the All-Star break? Who knows? Could it happen? Maybe. At the pace we're going, it's possible. But he's going to need 27 by the All-Star break. I think he had 30 on his rookie year, right? At his rookie year, like at the All-Star game. I remember Pete Alonso's rookie year fairly well.
Yeah, I mean, in order to hit as many as he did, you need a lot by the halfway mark.
Yeah, he is. He's at 15 right now, so he's 12 away, and the All-Star break is a month. So
it's
it could
possible.
happen.
I mean, he would
It
need
is
a hot
possible.
stretch for sure. I mean, you have other guys right now who have 23 home runs and some who play catcher. So it's physically possible, and he has the power to do it. But again, this season has been a more of a contact approach, using the opposite field and having a higher batting average. So maybe like this year is not the version of Alonso that does it, but you never know.
Yeah, who knows? I mean, he's seemed to have a little bit of a power stretch this last week. He has a chance to maybe get 3 or 4 in this series if he wants to, with the ballpark they're playing. But it always seems like the Mets, they win at Coors Field, but they always seem to like not disappoint and not put up, these like 12-run performances that you should against a awful Rockies pitching staff. Either way, my stud, we just talked about him. Paul Blackburn, again, setting the tone for this series in the first game of this 4-game set. We didn't know what to expect, and he kept us in the game. 5 scoreless innings, great return. Completely, I think it shocked a lot of people. They were like, okay, did we underestimate this guy? Maybe we did. I mean, he's facing a Dodgers lineup that's really, really good. So, I mean, it was a great performance by him. Once again, another great option, like we said. But onto the dud area here. Frank, you got one to throw here, throw into the fire after their performance?
I mean, it was a weird game, but I'm gonna go with McGill. I just felt like he really put the Mets in a hole early. Like it was like right away the Mets are down a few runs, and you're like, oh my gosh, here we go. I mean, how far is this guy gonna go? Luckily, he did settle in and he got them the 6 innings, but still, I mean, this is now. It just feels like ever since April ended, we've been talking about this McGill. It's like 4 runs, and it's just like when you have an offense. Yeah, when you have an offense that's inconsistent like this one is, if your starter gives up 4 runs and you have a tax bullpen, like you already know that it's going to be tough to pull that off. So I just felt like right away he kind of took out a lot of momentum. I mean, luckily the Mets did make a comeback. They had the lead. They ended up losing the game, but I just felt like overall that's not the way you want. A starter, you don't want them to start off a game that way.
Yeah. Really rough inning, that first inning. Some of the pitch sequencing was so awful, but then he clicked and he brought it on. But I don't blame you for saying that, only because it's kind of been a rough stretch for him since the end of April. So it just continuing to see it snowball the way that they did. Good to see him recover against a good Dodgers lineup the way that he did. But again, it was not the best of outings for him, but it's whatever. This is a good Dodgers lineup. We know it is. But for my dud, I am going to go with my guy over here who at the plate, he's looked good recently, but it sealed the deal in that second game, which was that fly ball to left field. Brandon Nimmo, what was that? What was that? That was awful. He had a few rough routes as well in left field. The reason why I'm putting him here is pretty much the defense, which has been solid in left field before the series started. But we still are seeing some blunders out there, and we've seen quite a few from Brandon Nimmo. But I'm going to put Nimmo there because it did. I mean, technically it cost them a game. Plenty of other culprits, but that was bad because he was standing on the warning track, and it just fell right in front of him, and he just completely misjudged it. Things that just should not happen. And defensive miscues, both of these games, like we said, with runners in scoring position, that was something that, we threw a wrench into because they needed to do better with that. And that was the main reason as they've lost these games to the Dodgers. But if you talk about defensive miscues, game 4, they also had a defensive miscue that really impacted the result of this game. Same went in game 2, where Brandon Nimmo just, I don't know what happened there. He just completely misjudged it. And stuff like that can't happen. It's unacceptable. But, we'll see how they again, these things need to be cleaned up. We've said it already. And, it has to be, a little bit more fluent in that way. I'm not worried about it long term at all, because I think he's best suited in left field. But we will see, we will see how this gets configured. Like we said, the top part of the lineup with Nimmo, most likely will have a little bit more of an impact with Lindor being out of the lineup, maybe for the entire series. That's something I would recommend. Either way, let's get into this upcoming series, which is going to be starting in a few hours as we are recording this, and that being the Mets versus the Rockies. Now, the Mets just played the Rockies at Citi Field, and now they are going to play them in Colorado. This is fantastic scheduling that just is very, very lazy, in my opinion, but probably
you think that, like, if the team just faced them, they would maybe like travel with them, and you know what I mean. So it's like the same difference, but
like a home and home, like they do in basketball.
Yeah. So like if you're gonna face them in a few days anyway, might as well just like travel with them. I don't know. That's just me. But
yeah, who knows? I have no clue. But either way, this Rockies team, very bad, like we have said. And I've already done a little bit of a preview on this, but here are your probables for these 3 games coming up. Kodai Senga will start the series opener tonight. He will be facing the struggling veteran pitcher Antonio Senzatella. First pitch is tonight at 8:40 p.m. Eastern Time on SNY. Game 2 will go to Clay Holmes. He will get his 13th start of the year, and he's going to surpass the 7-inning mark for the first time in his career in a single season. So, yippee. He will face the young left-hander Carson Palmquist, who the Mets have already faced. And no, it is not me. I'm not a double agent pitching against my favorite team. So if there's any confusion, that is not me. First pitch will be on Saturday at 9:40 p.m. Eastern Time on SNY. And game 3 will go to Tyler McGill for the series finale against a 30-year-old right-hander German Marquez, who is their ace, supporting a 7 ERA right now. First pitch is at Sunday afternoon at 3:10 p.m. on Pix 11. So, like we said, the Rockies suck. Pretty much has to be established every single time. It's not a good team. Not trolling or going after Rockies fans at all. I think they know this team is terrible. But business has to be taken care of. It has to be. Actually, a little bit of an update on this. It looks like Senzatella is not going to be pitching tonight. It'll be a man named Ryan Rollison. He's a lefty. He's 27 years old.
To dominate.
He's making his first start, I think, of his entire career tonight, which he's played in the bullpen. So he's a rookie. So it will be Ryan Rollison. So that's a late substitution, it looks like, because it was lined up on the MLB app as Senzatella, but I guess it's not going to be. I guess they're just moving him across. So he is a late addition to the plans, which means he's going to toss 8 scoreless tonight. Either way, there is one key injury, Frank, if you want to get into that the Rockies have that will not be in this series. It's Tovar, right? Because
yes,
Tovar he's a talented young player.
One of the very few ones they got.
One of the very few, and he is going on the injured list. So definitely a big hit to their lineup, obviously, with the Rockies competing for the World Series. I'm sorry. This is rude. This is just catching strays for no reason. I know. Sorry, Rockies fans. If you're watching or listening, my apologies. Either way, Going into this series, like we've said, nothing less than a sweep. To be honest, they got to do it. They have to. You're in Coors Field. Offense has got to break out whether you have Lindor or not. But either way, just keep it rolling. We need to keep the June times rolling. Let's say that so far they have played some solid baseball in June. Let's continue to improve. Let's show this Rockies team that we are in a completely different tier than them. Yeah, be sick.
I mean, the original joke I was gonna make before that late scratch was, the game when you're a kid, you play in school 7-up. That was the Rockies' ERA's rotation. Everyone was 7 and up.
Yeah.
But for Rolison, he actually did face the Mets May 31st. He threw 2 scoreless innings, so maybe that was why they did the late scratch. They're like, oh well, and that's the thing too, is that all of his outings have been like 2 innings to 2 1/3. So this could be more of like an opener kind of thing. Maybe
Could be.
We'll see. But I just thought that was interesting that the Mets have seen him before. Did not do well. He walked Calvaris, gave up a hit, but of course they stranded those runners because they tend to do that. But so to your point, they swept them last time. They need to do it again. The Rockies just swept the Marlins. Their most recent
update. Ryan Rolison will be an opener for Antonio Senzatella tonight.
Oh, so I'm
going to guess that since he's struggling, they're going to take him out from the top of the order, which makes sense because obviously
team, like that does make sense. I mean, Nimmo's probably at the top, Soto's at the top, so you get those lefties right away, and you try to get Antonio into like a little more of a easy path. But I mean, just overall, like we said, they swept them last time, do it again. But the Rockies have won. They won their last 3 games. They swept the Marlins, who I mean, right now the Marlins are only 3 games up on the Rockies because the Marlins have was it 23 wins and the Rockies have like. What I know it's less than that. Never mind. But yeah, Rocks have 12 wins, so forget that. They made it a little more competitive, I guess. Between the Rockies and Marlins, they're closing the gap a little bit there. So it's just when a team is 12 and 50, like we said, you really should take advantage of it. I mean, you're in Coors Field. This is a great opportunity, like we said, for Mauricio in particular. Maybe some other guys, Soto again, like try to get a little more confidence here, get some good swings. You would really like to see that against his team. So just do what you did last week. Take care of business. Sweep them again. You kind of have to, right?
Yeah. I mean, obviously, Senzatella has been struggling, so that makes sense that they give him an opener. I wouldn't want to face 5-hole Jeff McNeil either. Like, that's very, very intimidating. So glad to see them making adjustments.
It would be funny if the Mets did like a reverse, like they just like changed their lineup and they put the lefties to like lower in the lineup, and then like because if the Rockies made a late switch, why can't we make a late switch? So I mean that would be like a nice counter.
So so that would mean that with Senzatella, so Ronnie will most likely be batting left-handed by the time he comes in to the game.
One would hope, unless Rolison has like a low pitch count, they keep him out there a little longer. Yeah. I mean, who knows?
I would say usually the openers these days, and especially since he's only had like 1 or 2 inning performances, usually it's like 4 to 5 batters that they have him face. And it doesn't matter what outs, like which outs it is. It's just basically getting the batters out of the way.
It could be once he gets through McNeil and like he doesn't have the lefties to face. That could be what they're going for.
Once McNeil homers off of him.
Yeah, sure.
Okay. Anyways, we actually have quite a bit of time here, so we're going to stay on for about 10, 15 more minutes. Let's get into some comments in the chat. Obviously, I start a few here. We've have one comment here from D saying, Carson, do you like Marte in the 2-hole? Never have, never will. Especially with
you did it in 2022, like it was fine, but this season, like you don't want it.
It still was flawed though, because you had Nimmo who was drawing a lot of walks in 2022, and then you had Marte who was a double play threat no matter what. Nimmo was not stealing as many bases at that point, still doesn't as much, but
even less.
I don't know that top 2 I don't like Lindor and Marte I'm okay with, but Nimmo Marte, blech. I don't like it. But yeah, I don't like Marte in the top part of the lineup at all. I wish this team would just see a hot bat and keep him in that position and not, not.
Someone's got to get hot first.
Yeah, someone's going to have to get hot or have a good game. Just leave him there because it worked. But the Jeff McNeil situation. Ricardo saying, "What's up? I'm late. I'm just finished putting my McNeil bullseye picture away. He needs to be DFA'd. I don't see that happening anytime soon. Again, we all know my stance on McNeil. I've talked about it many, many times before. That game that he had was bad. It was really, really bad. He was still fairly productive. He's been fairly productive. The impact remains to be seen. He's been one of the strugglers with runners in scoring position since he came back here. But we'll see how that all gets sorted out.
I mean, if he didn't have the contract for next season, it's more possible. But I mean, you don't normally just get rid of somebody and still give him $30 million, right?
He's going to be here. Yeah. Yeah. It is one thing that they do need to consider at some point, obviously with all the young infielders that they have here. But I'm
again,
still
it's like,
seeing,
like we said, you need to get high. You need to push the hand. Like if all of a sudden Acuna is playing amazing, or if Jet came up was playing amazing, then sure, you want to DFA McNeil because you have all these other options. Yes, but right now, no one's winning the job from him.
No one is.
We talked about that, and now Vientos is down. You need Beatty at third. So you can't even put Beatty at second.
Yeah, I have a cutoff. I have a cutoff with the hot hand, however, though, because guys like McNeil, these marginal pieces that don't hit for power, they're not impact bats that steal bases or whatever that can set guys up. Guys like Jeff McNeil, if he does well in the 7-hole, leave him there. Yeah. Leave him. Stop moving him up in the lineup. Don't give him any more promotions. Okay, you already paid him. Put him in the 7-hole. That's it. Keep him. Same thing goes for Marte. If he does great batting 6th, keep him there. Keep him there the next day. Jeez. Anyways. Yeah. So we'll see what happens with McNeil. He's still here. One of our old friends, Hayden here, one of the Mets Weekly alums, saying, should the Mets consider sending Francisco Alvarez down to AAA for a few games and try and figure out some stuff / rehab his hand? His ABs have been brutal, and behind the plate, he has been so-so. This is very evident. It has been very evident. We talked about this in a past episode of what they could possibly do with Francisco Alvarez. I'm ready to send him down to Syracuse. I really do. And I hope that he gets going because he is starting again today for the game 1 of the series. I hope he gets going at the plate. I really do. I'm really rooting for him to do it, but they got to figure something out here because when Torrens is playing the way that he is, even in that limited playing time, Alvarez looks lost out there. He looks lost. He had a couple good ABs in this Dodgers series, but he also had some really bad ones. So whether it is him at the plate or behind the plate, he looks gone. I don't know. I don't know what the deal is. I feel like right now we're sitting at a point where I'm just asking what the hell happened to this kid? Because yes, we know what happened with the hitting, how they changed the approach and everything, but there still isn't something that's right. There's nothing. I think it goes beyond what the approach is here. I'm seeing a 23-year-old kid right now who is really, really struggling overall as a player. And they're going to have to eventually address this because this is an issue. Especially if he's going to start costing them games. I don't know. Frank, I know that you're more of the Alvarez guy, but this has been brutal since he's come back. It has not been a fun ride with Alvarez behind the plate or at the plate, especially with Torrens playing the way that he is. We've talked about this so many times. I mean, Torrens should be playing more. He really should be, whether you want to give the young guy leeway or not.
I mean, you want to see some improvement from him. We have not seen it yet. I mean, the pass balls are also concerning, and just like the lack of awareness, knowing that Reed Garrett's right behind you and then like blocking him from then trying to make a play at the plate. Like it's just those mental mistakes are something you don't want to see. But I think just in general, this team offensively, and Alvarez is a huge culprit of it, but some of the overswinging, like, a lot of times it's like we talk about hitting approach, men on base, like how you approach it. And Alvarez, sometimes you take some crazy hacks. And then you saw the same thing happen for this team yesterday in the ninth inning. I mean, Tyrell Taylor took a big rip, and he's someone that does not have many home runs this season. And then Acuna took a crazy huge swing, and he has 0 home runs this season. So it's more so like, between Alvarez and just everybody else, like the philosophy is just more so like knowing the situation, like we say, playing to your strengths. You don't always see that. Like sometimes you just see some swing decisions or types of swings that you're like, what were you thinking? Like, what was that? I mean, that some of the stuff just like doesn't make any sense. But with Alvarez, it's just far too often. And like we talk about, chase the breaking ball, take the fastball with the plate with 2 strikes. Like he did that, I'm pretty sure, yesterday, and way too many times. So stuff like that, when you're seeing it happen consistently, is definitely very frustrating.
We'll see how they continue this, how they configure this entirety of the lineup. But I really want to see Torrens play more. I really think that he's earned it. And whether that stunts something from Francisco Alvarez or not, he really hasn't earned this playing time. He really has not played well. And I know it sucks to say with a young kid like that, but it really is an issue when you see, him just struggling the way that he is. And I really, really hope that there is a solution somewhat. And it's not just saying, oh, we're going to give up on him, he's a bust, he's done. 23 years old. We've seen prospects in AAA at 23 years old before. This is a catching position as well. That it takes a while for them, a little bit longer for them to develop. And we're seeing some effects of it. We're seeing him struggle a lot. And I do think that AAA is probably something that he does need, not permanently. But after seeing what it did for Beatty, maybe that's a jump start that he needs. Maybe Beatty and Alvarez are 2 completely different players, but maybe he needs a reset. I think he really does need a reset because you can see it on the field affecting him mentally. I think that there's really a show of, yes, he is a very confident guy. He is, thinks very highly of himself, and he believes in himself the way that he does, but you're also seeing it get to him. I think it's very, very noticeable that the body language is not the body language we usually see from Francisco Alvarez, who you talk from most of his teammates, the guy is a breath of fresh air. Like he's larger than life to everybody. He's a great presence. All the pitchers love throwing to him. Like we hear all that stuff about him as such a great young player that he has developed into. But we'll see what the deal is. And also we're seeing pitchers pitch a little bit better with Torrens behind the plate too. So I feel like if you're talking about hot hands or not, Torrens is that hot hand you got to put in there for a majority of the play. And I do think that Hayden Senger probably should come up here for a week or 2, and Alvarez should get some reps in AAA. Unless something clicks a little bit in these next week or 2, I'm ready to say
again.
Okay,
I mean, same thing for him. Coors Field, great opportunity to get it going. It'd be nice to see him hit another home run. I mean, it really would be nice.
Would be sick. Would be awesome. I'm rooting for him to do it. But at the moment, if this keeps going the way that it is, I think Syracuse is something that they need to consider for him. Just to get his get something reset. I'm not giving up on him. I'm not calling him a bust. I'm not calling him a completely overhyped prospect as he was. I just think that he needs some time to refresh here. And I know people talk about the injuries that he has had, but that also can do things to your mental health as well for him. The overall mental makeup. It's a rough position to play, catching. And I want to see him succeed because we know how good he could be. He's shown how good he is. But we will see how they configure this, if they're just going to let him play through it. But he's really struggling out there. It's very, very evident. And speaking of some other playing times and things, D also asking how many innings do we think Senga goes Tonight, I think that if he locates well, he probably should go 9 innings, right? I mean, to be honest, I mean, this Colorado Rockies team, we saw them. They chase a lot. They really chase a lot. They're awful with runners in scoring position. One of the few teams that are worse than the Mets so far this year, runners in scoring position. I think the innings total, whatever happens with Senga tonight is whatever. I think what innings do we get out of him all season is more of the question you have to ask. But again, this is a Rockies lineup that is out without Ezekiel Tovar right now. I mean, who is considered their best hitter right now? Is it McMahon?
No,
I
I mean,
guess
McMahon's been bad. I mean,
McMahon's
maybe
been
like
bad. Toglia has been bad.
maybe back, maybe.
Yeah.
But I mean, the thing for
Jeez.
Senga, I mean, to watch is that he had a couple starts to roll the first inning home runs. He did it his last start against Colorado. So, Coors Field, if Senga starts to give some long balls, it is something to watch. I'm curious to see like how aggressive he is this first inning, try to not have another home run.
Did he start ever at Coors Field? Has he ever done that so far?
Oh, he had to have. Maybe not. I'd have to look at if he did in a couple years ago, because obviously it wasn't last year. But
it was 2020.
I would have to take a look at the game log to see if he pitched there. Because
if he has, it might be, maybe we're seeing.
But again, the Rockies are even worse. I mean, they weren't good that year, but they're even worse now. So
they stink. Yeah, they're really.
It's.
It's embarrassing how bad they are.
It's like no matter what you're.
Yeah.
No, it looks like
so
he did not.
I'm curious.
There.
Yeah. Okay.
No.
So I am curious because again, he is, came over from Japan, obviously. Has he pitched at high altitude yet? I don't know.
Let me see.
Because sometimes guys don't respond well from that.
He pitched in Arizona one time. I mean, that has pretty high altitude elevation.
I think he was indoors though, right?
Oh, that start with the roof might have been closed. It could have been. So I mean, he gave a home run that start, but
I don't know. I'm not a weatherman, so
not weatherman. You have your own weather to deal with right now. Yeah,
I don't know. Yeah, who knows? We'll see what happens because sometimes these guys they don't, do well at the high altitude. Sometimes they can't handle it, but we'll see what happens there. Keep us in the game. That's all I ask. And this is definitely not a task that is too tall for a frontline pitcher such as Kodai Senga. This Rockies team, like we said, they stink. They're really, really bad. Either way, another comment from Ricardo that I can put in here. Griffin Canning needs a little bit more credit than he is getting. He has been a complete surprise. Yeah, I mean, across from that start against the White Sox where he just completely didn't have it. Great bounce back against the Dodgers. Great outing for him. He's been really good. And it has been very, very impressive. Frank, I know, we've talked about this, the way that we did before the season began. I mean, he was one of the worst pitchers in all of baseball last year. And to see him transform into what he's doing right now on a 1-year deal for like, what is it? 4.3 million, $4.25 million.
Yep.
I mean, this guy is, on pace right now for some Cy Young votes. Like this is how good Griffin Canning has been so far this season. So it's been very, very impressive. The whole rotation has been a great collaborative unit. And the most impressive part of it is you don't even have your best pitcher from last year in what you had with Sean Manaea. Your two highest paid pitchers, your two highest paid starters, because obviously Diaz is one of them. Your two highest paid starters they haven't even thrown a pitch yet. And you've been one of the best staffs in all of baseball. So a lot of that credit goes to Griffin Canning. We've really liked what we have seen so far. If you want to add to that.
I mean, yeah, this is kind of what we talked about earlier, like with Blackburn and guys like that. It's more so just, making these adjustments. If there's something you see in a picture that you feel like if you did some things differently, you could have some different results. And he's been a huge example of that. I mean, he really is a Stern special. I mean, you're looking at a guy last year, ERA of 5.19. Year before that, 4.32. Right now, he's at 2.90. Like, I mean, that is just way better than projected, way better than we predicted. So he's just been extremely solid. So it's been very pleasant that it's held up this long. Because we're like, it's going to begin the season. But we're in June now, and he's just gotten the job done, and he's only 29. So it's not like, oh well, this is just like such a huge fluke.
Yeah, he's only pitched 150 innings once, and that was last year with the Angels, which he was not good. Like we said, one of the worst pitchers in all of baseball. He's still young. We know that Canning at one point was the top prospect. We know like he was highly regarded as a second round pick in 2017 with the Angels. The success that we've gotten from Canning, I don't know if it says much about the Mets pitching lab or it just talks about how awful the Angels pitching development is. Maybe it's a little bit of both.
It's a little bit of
obviously.
both because I mean they've done it with players from a bunch of different teams. Like they've had more success with the Mets, and to some extent look at Jose Urena even a little bit. Like we've also seen some players who they come to the Mets and then leave the Mets, but still have more success than their previous team. So I mean there's something to that extent too.
Yeah, it does show. We're starting to be on the right side of those stories. No more of the the situations of the Zach Wheelers doing well somewhere else, or the Seth Lugos doing well somewhere else. Which this rotation probably would be even better with them in this rotation, but they let them go. So either way, other than that, I think we're going to wrap it up right here. Obviously, we have a game in about 2 hours. Mets are in Colorado. Start off a series with the Rockies, and then they will go back home for DC. We'll see what happens. The playing time with Lindor will be something to look out for. The playing time between Acuna and Mauricio for shortstop should be interesting. Frank, I'll give you some last comments here going into the Rockies, coming off of again, marathon of a series in Los Angeles. Lots of late nights, which I was inexperienced for. 3 straight nights of doing the Mets Frankly post. It was the Mets Carson Lee post game for three very, very, very long nights. So I passed the mic back to you, and you're back into the swing. But boy, it was a little bit tedious doing it at 1 o'clock at night. Let's just say that. But we got through it. We will always get through it. Quite the grind. Either way, off to you.
Yes, I mean, I gave you the baton, you gave it back. So, I mean, like we said, they just saw this Colorado team, so there really shouldn't be any surprises. We know they're brutal. I mean, the Mets, I do find interesting, the Mets are a couple games under 500 on the road, so that's something to at least be mindful of, not so much in this series, but going forward. Like, that's something that you also want to see get cleaned up. You don't want to have a losing record on the road because, as we know, you have to play road games in the playoffs, so you want to
get the number 1 seed.
Yeah, it's just no problem. We'll just have home field the whole way through. But that is something that I do find very interesting because they've been just so great at home. To see them be a couple games below 500 on the road is just really not something you want to see. But I mean, June 6th, this is actually the date in 2011 when the Mets drafted Brandon Nimmo. So maybe Brandon Nimmo could reward them with a big game. He's been good in Colorado. We know like the local connection.
He's from the
It could be a big game for him. That would be nice.
I hope so. From the leadoff spot, his original home.
There's a lot of connections there.
He does. Let's see. I know that Sean Manaea's rehab start just began. So I just saw that he struck out his first batter. That's pretty encouraging to see. Let's see. I do want to give a little bit of an update on that, of course. But we also have some, other things, of course, going forward. A few comments to make, even though it kind of doesn't fit well right now with, him getting the RBI hit. Okay. Yes, I know we've had these discussions before about Michael Conforto. This is a different level. Like, he is really bad now, like exceptionally bad. And the one thing that I really noticed from this series, that guy's right arm is cooked. That guy is like, he can't make a throw at all. Like, he really can't. Like, he was lollipopping. Like, they were accurate, not strong at all. Like, he was lollipopping a lot of throws. Like, This guy got COVID in 2021 and the entire soul got sucked out of his body. Like, he is so awful now. Obviously, he got the winning hit in the to send us off to Colorado. But hey, what are you going to do? But yeah, very, very odd situation. I don't know, looking in hindsight of what we see from some of the outfielders right now. Obviously, Nimmo stayed here long term. Pete Alonso, we'll see what happens here. McNeil is signed through 2026. And he was kind of like that fourth piece to the core in 2019. And he's kind of just completely tampered off, and it's so odd seeing him in a Dodger uniform, to be honest. But yeah, he's been one of the worst players in all of baseball this year. So yeah, I can't really defend that. There's not really much to defend. I'll just reminisce in the memories of 2020, 2015 and 2017 when he was actually a good player, and he was a pure hitter until the Mets ruined him and destroyed him. But yeah, so that one game that you were watching, Michael Conforto's game-winning hit, that's for you.
I should have went back to bed. I should have been sleeping, and we would have been fine.
Yeah, probably should have. Yeah, he noticed that you were watching, and that was that. Shamania struck out the first batter that he faced, and he just loaded the bases with back-to-back singles and a hit by pitch. So that's not great, but hey, it's whatever. Let's see
at least he's
how that does progress. At least he's on the mound. Good to see him on the mound. Great. Or there might be something in the water, because Montas struggled as well with Brooklyn, but he also struggled with AAA. So I don't know. Either way, we're going to wrap it up here. Either way, going into this Colorado Rockies series, like we said, thank you guys so much for watching. We hope you enjoyed the conversation. For those of you watching or listening on playback, you want to join the conversation live in the future, make sure to subscribe to the Mets Weekly YouTube channel. Turn on those post notifications to know when we go live. Make sure to follow Mets Weekly on X and on TikTok. They mainly feature Frank's post-game reactions after every single game. And of course, you'll get that one tonight. And follow all of us individually, including our third Mike, Andrew, as well. And of course, we'll send you all off to Colorado. Let's go Mets. And we will see you guys next time.